The auction hall on Station Epsilon 7 reeked of ozone and disappointment. Beneath the flickering bioluminescent panels, hundreds of alien buyers examined the merchandise with calculating eyes. War beasts bred for conquest, mechanical constructs designed for destruction, and cyborg soldiers programmed for obedience. Akim stood at the back of the crowd, her small human frame nearly invisible among the towering Crithians and armored Vextar warriors. She shouldn't have been here at all. Humans were still considered a novelty species in this sector. Barely 3 generations past their first contact with the Galactic Consortium. On the auction block, a creature stumbled forward. The auctioneer, a gelatinous coral with 7 eye stalks, barely concealed its disgust. Lot 847, Thoraxian Warmount, 7 years old, previously bonded to Commander Zekthor before his unfortunate demise in the Andromeda campaigns. The creature was massive, 12 feet at the shoulder with 6 powerful legs and armor plating that shimmered like oil on water. But something was wrong. Its movements were jerky, uncertain. One of its legs dragged slightly and its once proud head hung low. Note the decreased mobility, the auctioneer continued, its voice dripping with disdain. Bond shock from Master's death has rendered it unstable. Refuses all new riders. We begin bidding at 500 credits. Silence filled the hall. 400? More silence. A Crithian in the front row laughed, a sound like grinding metal. It's worthless. Probably can't even hold formation anymore. 300 credits, surely someone. 50 credits. Akim's voice cut through the murmurs. Every eye in the auction hall turned toward her. The auctioneer's stalk swiveled, focusing on the human girl who barely reached most species' waistlines. I'm sorry, did you say 50? Yes. Akim stepped forward, her worn jacket and scuffed boots marking her as someone from the lower decks. 50 credits. That's what I have. Laughter erupted throughout the hall. A Vextar warrior leaned toward his companion. The human wants a pet. How adorable. The auctioneer seemed ready to dismiss her when its supervisor sent a neural pulse. Just sell it and move on. Sold to the human. Next lot. But Akim was already moving toward the stage. The Warmount's name was Verk, though she only learned that later after weeks of patient silence in the abandoned cargo bay. She'd converted into a makeshift stable. The other dock workers thought she was insane, wasting her savings on a broken war beast. It'll kill you, her supervisor had warned. Thoraxians are bonded creatures. When the bond breaks, they go mad. But Akim saw something else in Verk's crystalline eyes. Not madness, but grief. She didn't try to ride him, didn't try to command him. Instead, she simply existed alongside him. She brought him food synthesized to Thoraxian nutritional specs, researched from fragmented databases. She cleaned his armor plating with careful hands, removing the grime and neglect of the auction house. And she talked to him, not commands but stories about Earth, about her brother who died in the colony wars, about loss and loneliness and the aching void that never quite fills. Verk listened with those alien eyes, unmoving except for the occasional twitch of his auditory sensors. 3 months passed. Then one evening, as Akim sat welding a broken support beam in the cargo bay, singing an old Earth song her mother had taught her, Verk stood up, actually stood, all 6 legs steady and strong, and walked toward her. Akim froze as the massive creature lowered his head, touching his forehead gently to her shoulder. The Thoraxian gesture of trust, of recognition, of bonding. "Hey there, Verk," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Welcome back. 6 months later, Station Epsilon 7 faced its greatest crisis. A Krell raiding fleet emerged from jump space without warning, their ships tearing through the station's outer defenses like paper. The consortium forces scrambled, but they were outmatched and unprepared. Evacuation protocols failed. Panic spread through the lower decks where thousands of civilians, humans, corals, even some Crithian families were trapped. In the chaos, Akim made a decision. She strapped on the neural interface she'd cobbled together from salvaged parts and military surplus. Not the domination collars the aliens used, but something different. Something based on partnership, on mutual trust. "You ready, boy?" she asked Verk. The Warmount's response rumbled through their newly formed bond, not words but pure determination. They emerged from the cargo bay like a legend come to life. Akim, tiny against Verk's massive frame, guided him not through commands but through shared purpose. They crashed through the station's corridors, Verk's armor deflecting weapons fire as Akeem used her knowledge of the station's layout to lead trapped civilians to the few remaining evacuation pods. A Krell war party blocked their path to the docking bay, 6 armored raiders with plasma cannons. The Krell commander laughed when he saw them. A human child on a broken mount? This is what defends this sector? Akeem felt Verk's battle instincts surge through their bond, but tempered now, controlled. Not the mindless violence of a dominated war beast, but the calculated fury of a protector fighting for those he cared about. What happened next became station legend. Verk moved like liquid lightning. His previous injuries completely healed through the strange alchemy of the human-Thraxian bond. But more than that, he fought with unprecedented intelligence, responding to Akeem's tactical thinking, while she relied on his combat experience. They weren't rider and mount. They were partners, each compensating for the other's weaknesses. The Krell never stood a chance. When the consortium reinforcements finally arrived, they found the lower deck secured, civilians safe, and a human girl sitting beside her war mount, both exhausted but unbroken. The same Krithian who'd mocked Akeem at the auction approached slowly. His attitude completely changed. "How?" he asked simply. Akeem looked up at him, then patted Verk's armored flank. "You all tried to replace what he lost. I just reminded him that love, real love, isn't about replacement. It's about making space for something new while honoring what came before." She stood, her hand resting on Verk's neck where she could feel his dual heartbeats thrumming. Humans understand that bonds aren't chains. They're bridges, and bridges go both ways. The Krithian stared at her for a long moment, then performed a gesture of respect rarely given to other species. "Perhaps we have much to learn from your kind." As he walked away, Akeem smiled and scratched behind Verk's auditory sensor, the spot that always made him rumble with contentment. "Come on, boy," she said softly. "Let's go home." And together, the rejected war mount and the nobody human girl walked into a future neither of them had dared to imagine. A future they'd built not through domination or desperation, but through the simple revolutionary act of choosing each other. In a galaxy built on hierarchies and conquest, that was the most powerful weapon of all.